Continuing to dominate the front pages at the moment, the fallout from yet another Strictly scandal. Wynne Evans has left the show's live tour after footage emerged of him using a vulgar sexual turn, which is so vulgar we can't repeat it on daytime TV, aimed at dancer Janette Manrara at a photo call. Now, Wynne said in a statement, which I have...
Somewhere here.
Somewhere here. I do have the statement. Yeah, I've agreed with the BBC that I'll take some time out for my radio show and the Strictly Live tour, as well as my other public commitments to prioritise my well-being. I'm deeply sorry for the pain my inappropriate actions have caused, and I plan to take this time for self-reflection. Apologies to those who won't get to see me at the remaining performances, and I'm grateful to my fellow tour gang for all the amazing support that they have given me. Janet, was he right to leave the tour?
Well, that's up to him, isn't it? I mean, the big question is, if you take some time out to look at your well-being and you're a 53-year-old man, in a couple of weeks, is he going to be substantially different in his outlook and how he talks to other people, primarily, you know, when women are in the room? I think there are kind of slight echoes here of the Greg Wallace playbook. Yeah. It all sounds dreadfully familiar. I don't think anyone was ever under any illusion about what Wynne Evans was like. And I say that as someone who is half Welsh. I mean, he celebrates his Welshness. When he won MasterChef, he won it with a curry that was, you know, and he said in interviews, you know, we've all been to rugby and had too many pints, and this is the kind of curry, but better, that you'd have. So everybody knew he was a blokey bloke. And obviously, when throughout my career, I've encountered a lot of blokes like this. And it's a question of how do you reconstruct them? I mean, when I was a BBC executive, I sat in a meeting where I was the only woman, and the boss in charge of the meeting said, well, chaps, I'm going to put my willy on the table at this point. And what he meant was...
Not literally.
Not actually, but he meant it was code for, I've got a really great idea and I'm going to share it with you.
But didn't seem to mind that you may find that offensive in it.
No, it just washed right over him. To be fair, I just rearranged my face.
But Mariella, what do you make of this? Do you think it's a bit of an overreaction or a reflection of perhaps what society is going through and what we see as appropriate now compared to then?
No, I think it's fantastic. As someone who sort of was a teenager in the 1970s and worked through the 80s and 90s, I think it's fantastic that, you know, certain ways of speaking about women in particular, but in general, are deemed to be unacceptable. And I guess in some ways it's good that people are called out. I mean, as regular viewers will know, I'm not a big Strictly fan, so it's like having headlines about a total stranger. You know, I don't know anything about him, and I don't really care about him. What I do care about is the fact that despite all the focus on what people say and the words that people use and so on, nothing really seems to be shifting in terms of in society. You know, we've still got, you know, epic levels of rape that goes completely unpunished and often doesn't even go to court. You've got, you know, a recent UN report that says that 52% of young boys between 16 and 19 think that women should stay at home and look after their families more. And 46% of them, at the same age group, think that men make better politicians. So, you know, this deeply entrenched... Yeah, exactly. This kind of deeply entrenched misogyny, sexism, and indeed sexual violence and so on, isn't changing. And we're all, like, giving over newspaper headlines to some guy who said something really stupid.
But taking a couple of weeks off to talk, you know, to think about it, I don't think will change the mindset of the man.
But what do you reckon, Jude?
Well, I agree with you both, actually. I just think, unfortunately, it is, you know, especially if you've been warned before and then you do it again, I think it's a learnt behaviour. And unfortunately, I think we live in a time where there's a lot of men that, of, you know, particular age and so on, that are just in this banter culture and don't know when you've gone past the line or making someone feel offended. And until we stamp out, like you said, misogyny and all these other things that are happening, this is going to be a continual thing. if we look at the pattern of how many times this has happened, what is going on, apart from them being dismissed and taking care of their well-being and mental health, which I also find uncomfortable.
I love it's his well-being that he's taking care of, not the person he was talking about.
Exactly, especially so many people who actually have real mental health issues or neurodiversities. I've heard people use that as an excuse. Like, those people actually really have these issues. So using that as you're going to find yourself in that moment, I think it takes away from addressing the real serious issues like we have. Women being killed, women being raped, and nothing actually happened. It's a deeper, entrenched, systematic issue that needs to be resolved.
Well said, Judith.
And yet you have a percentage of people that will react to this by saying, you just can't say anything anymore. We just need to learn.